We know nothing of the mother of Legolas, but we know plenty about his father. Though we do not get his name in The Hobbit, we are given his name in retrospect in The Lord of the Rings, King Thranduil of the Woodland Realm, referred to only as the High Elven King in The Hobbit, but as we get to know him, we get an interesting psychological profile. In The Hobbit, he is interested in silver and gold, but afterwards we learn of his great history and antiquity. It is he who compliments Bilbo prior to the Battle of Five Armies, giving him the name Elfriend. In The Hobbit, he does not come off too well. Despite bearing only the name Elven King, his greed and pride is of such a nature that he is willing to put the lives of his people in danger to have a cut of the Hoard of Smaug. At this point, we had very little to go on to reconstruct the life of the Elven King, and it wouldn't be until half a century later, with the publication of Unfinished Tales, that we would get more of his story. Let's get into it.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
Hey guys, and welcome to The Broken Sword. Before we get too far, guys, I want to tell you about a new project that we are working on. We have teamed up with one of our buddies, Brandon, in the States, and we are working on a Star Trek lore channel. It's called Federation Outpost 111. If you're a fan of the content we do here, then you know exactly what to expect. It's the similar type of thing, lore videos and anything related to that content, but all to do with Star Trek. So if you're a Trekkie, go over there and hit the subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Thanks, guys. So in today's video, we will be looking at the mysterious King Thranduil of the Greenland Realm, and try to take some time to understand his high antiquity, great age and potential for being the oldest being remaining in Middle-earth after the departure of Elrond and Galadriel at the culmination of the War of the Ring. King Thranduil is of the House of Oropher, famous for establishing the realm of Greenwood. Oropher is also of great antiquity, born in the First Age in the city of Doriath. Oropher was part of the Lathrim, or Sindar elves who lived in Doriath and later, after its destruction, moved to the mouth of Sirion after the departure of Melian the Mire and the subsequent dissolution of the protective girdle of Melian that had kept the city safe. In the second kinslaying in 507 of the First Age, when the Sons of Feanor attacked the city of Menegroth to recover the Silmaril encased within the Nauglamir, a creative project that featured the best craftsmanship of the dwarfs and the best of the craft of the Noldor elves. The Silmarils, rather than being viewed as the great achievement in craft that they were, leave a legacy as bloody as that of the Ring in ages to come. With the destruction of Beleriand in the War of Wrath, these elves leave for Lindon and are again invited by the Valar to come to the Undying Lands. As these elves were among the Teleri that never made it after the first invitation, again they refused and migrate over the Misty Mountains and into Greenwood the Great in the year 750 of the Second Age, and here they would reunite with another long-lost tribe of elves, the Sylvan, who take Oropher as their king. During this time, they would take Sylvan names and customs and wish to remain close to nature and unbothered by the Valar. As it is said in the Unfinished Tales, they were soon merged with the Sylvan elves, adopting their language and taking names of Sylvan form and style. The Sylvan elves are both strong and brave, but in the War of the Last Alliance, they refused to submit to High King Gil-galad, but would rush into battle before the command is given. Many of his company would be slain. Without the kind of armour and weaponry of the Noldor, 2/3 of Oropher's army would be destroyed. Oropher would be among the first slain in the Battle of Dagorlad, which devastated the woods of the Elven Realm. 7 years later, when Sauron had been defeated, Thranduil was crowned King of the Woodland Realm. This was before the return of the Shadow that would change the forest and contract the realm under Thranduil's rule. As the shadow of Sauron began to lie heavy once more over the lands of Middle-earth, and Greenwood was renamed Mirkwood. In response to this, Thranduil would move further north, in some ways retreating in the same manner of Menegroth. This catches us up to the events of The Hobbit, where we first meet Thranduil. As mentioned, only in the guise of Elf King, when he imprisons the dwarves crossing through his realm because they refuse to reveal exactly why it is they're moving through Mirkwood. After interrupting their feast 3 times, he imprisoned them all, but Bilbo would save them. It may be in keeping with what we learn later of Thranduil and his presence at the second kinslaying. It is possible he wants nothing to do with rumours of rings and specific treasures, despite his arrival at the end of The Hobbit to stake claim to the treasures of Smaug, the last of the great fire drakes of Middle-earth and terror of Laketown. Thorin Oakenshield of the Company of Dwarves is having none of this and refuses to treat with Bard the Bowman when he is approached. The Dwarven King will not parley with armed messengers. First, dismiss the elvish host to the woods where it belongs, and then return, laying down your arms before you approach the threshold. Here, Bilbo Baggins brings them the Arkenstone, hoping to avert the fight that is to come. Dane Ironfoot is en route with a host of dwarves, and tensions are rising. The next morning, the dwarves and Bard would parley with an irate Thorin Oakenshield, yet he agrees to give 1/14 of the treasures for the Arkenstone. It might be his knowledge of the kinslaying and the history of the bloodshed for the Silmarils that would have Thranduil not want to spill blood for gold, and it is at this time when the armies of orcs and bats come to the field. Here began the battle of the Five Armies, and in a show of reverence, when Thorin Oakenshield dies, Thranduil returns his sword, confiscated earlier when the dwarves were imprisoned for trespassing, and he places it atop his coffin. In the end, the treasures would be divided among the Alliance. Thranduil receives the gems of Bard's ancestors, beautiful emeralds of Dale. Before they depart, Bilbo gives to Thranduil a necklace of pearl and silver. Here Bilbo is named Elf-Friend, a deeply meaningful title for one to bestow in this world, and one which guarantees certain benefits. To hold the title of Elf-Friend ensures you the hospitality of some of the most wise and ancient beings in the world, which is no small thing in itself. When Tolkien returned to the world of The Hobbit to write its sequel, The Lord of the Rings, he already had a character to expand by giving him a son, Legolas, son of Thranduil. It is here where we get a name for Thranduil and his son Legolas, who is a prince of the Woodland Realm. There is no indication anywhere as to who his mother is. And the storyline in the Hobbit trilogy does not count. Though his story is scattered about the Legendarium, trying to piece together his life experiences prior to The Lord of the Rings is difficult. His actions in the main story of The War of the Ring are far more clear, as he now has a name and a son. We know Thranduil would send his son Legolas to Rivendell after Gollum escaped, to inform Elrond of his escape, and he would later arrive in time to participate in and become a part of what would become the Fellowship of the Ring. Within a year, the forces of Gondor would be successful in the Battle of the Pelennor Fields on the 15th of March in the year 3019 of the Third Age, the same day that Mirkwood would be attacked from Dol Guldur. The battle rages and much of Mirkwood is destroyed by fire. Though Thranduil and the elves of Mirkwood would succeed in repelling the forces of Dol Guldur, it would only be 10 days later on the 25th of March that the One Ring would be destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom. The once great Greenwood realm is brought low by the forces of Sauron over the course of the War of the Ring, but at its end the realm is restored, when Celeborn and Galadriel cleanse Dol Guldur of Sauron's fell spirit. Thranduil's realm is restored and he remains in Middle-earth ever after the departure of Círdan and Elrond. At this point, it's no exaggeration to say that Thranduil would be one of the most ancient, if not the outright oldest being remaining in Middle-earth. We know that the ancient difficulties between elf and dwarf would come to an end, as the friendship of Legolas and Gimli would prove meaningful to the restoration of the friendship of those two peoples as the time of magic came to an end. With one great elven king of the forest, whose name belongs to glorious spring, remains the last glimmer of magic in a world under the dominion of men. The fact that his wife is not named and his date of birth is not given gives Thranduil an air of mystery that has long been of interest to fans of both the films and the books. The fantastic presence brought to the character by actor Lee Pace, who played Thranduil in the Hobbit trilogy, had given him an enduring appeal. Here at the Broken Sword, we personally think he was a fantastic pick for this sometimes snobbish, sometimes proud, sometimes deeply caring elf. And that's pretty much it from me today, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this piece on Thranduil. If you've been around this channel for a while, you will know that he is one of my favourite characters of all time, and we could not resist putting out another video on him. As always, time has come to thank all of our patrons and channel members. You guys are the best. I really hope you enjoyed the recent behind the scenes look over on our Patreon. If you are a patron there, you of course will be getting access to all the exclusive content regarding the making of our upcoming short film. If you want to get involved in the making of the film, you can head over to Patreon and pick one of the tiers there. There are loads of benefits to being involved. Of course, the biggest one, funding a short Middle-earth inspired movie. One more time, guys, don't forget to check out Federation Outpost 111. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.